Hi everyone. Okay, so a question I get asked, and I'm sure lots of collectors get asked, is which boots in your collection are your favourite? So what I've done is I've spent some time in my boot room today trying to find 10 pairs, try and share with you what I think are my 10 favourite pairs in my collection. Starting off here with the Predator Instinct Eyes from 2014. Now I was lucky enough to win these boots from Pro Direct Soccer in a competition they were running that summer, and I actually found out on my wedding day that I'd won these boots. So for me there's sentimental value to the boots as well as them being just an outstandingly good looking boot. There was 30 pairs of this boot released apparently, although to be honest with you there's been a lot of samples I've seen, so I think it's closer to 50 or 60 pairs by now. But for me it's a great looking boot. I love the eyes on the front, I love the Predator right in the back. So for me, number 10 in my collection. Okay, so continuing in my countdown of my top 10 boots in my collection, here we have an Adidas boot which has been remade recently, but for me the original Precision, the Champions League Precision, will always be one of the favourite boots in my collection. It took me a long time to find them, especially with the firm ground sole plate there that you see with the red blades on the bottom, and the Champions League ball on the back just again finishes the boot off really nicely. These boots were obviously famous for David Beckham scoring that free kick against Greece, which as a Scotsman, it's not one of my highlights, but to be honest with you, obviously it was a great game, great free kick, and that's what the boots will always be remembered for. The remake that came out recently has been very popular. Over here in Qatar, Xavi's obviously wearing the remake now. It's a great looking boot. The Precision's actually one of my favourite Predators to wear. I remember wearing them back in 2000, 2001 when I just moved to Spain. So these boots, number 9 in my collection. We're at number 8 in my collection, and this is a boot that took me quite some time to actually get my hands on. This is the Miroslav Klose Hypervenom 1. Great looking boot, limited to 100 pairs worldwide, but to be honest with you, as the boot was never actually released to the general public, a few pairs appeared on ebay.com in the States about 2 years ago, and I know a few collectors bought them from there. I was lucky enough to buy this from a collector about Christmas time in 2018. Really great looking pair of boots. For me it completed my Hypervenom 1 colorway collection, so for me that's why I had to try and find a pair of them. Great looking boot. Love that they made it in soft ground, because the more limited editions they make in soft ground the better. It's a boot that not really that many people have got. As I say, 100 pairs were released, but there's not that many out there. I think I can recall maybe 10 collectors that have got them. So for me, great boot and number 8 in my collection. Okay, so here we are now at number 7 in my collection, and here we have one of my favourite boots by far, mainly because I was actually given them by Lothar Matthaus himself at Pro Direct Sports Shop in London, and it was just an amazing day. I love the display box they come in the first place, as you see from earlier in the video, and it's a very classic looking boot. White leather. There's only 25 pairs of these in the world, which obviously makes them super limited, super rare. You couldn't buy them, you had to be invited to the event. I was lucky enough on that day to meet a few other collectors and so on. They did a Lothar Matthaus quiz. We got to listen to the great man himself speaking for about 30 to 40 minutes, getting asked questions about the Champions League final, about the World Cup final and so on. So it was a really amazing day. So yeah, it's a bit more sentimental value that these ones have been put into my top 10. But it's a pair that I'm proud to have, proud to own, and it was a day that I'll never forget. I'm nearly 40 and meeting Lothar Matthaus was one of the best things ever. So number 7 in my collection. Okay, so at number 6 on my list, we've got the last Puma entry in my top 10, which goes to the Puma evoSPEED HUBLOT collaboration with Radamel Falcao. Now, to get these boots, you had to buy a watch that was about $16,000. I was fortunate enough not to have to buy the watch, and I was contacted by a company in America who were selling these boots for one of their clients, so I was able to purchase the boot. This is pair number 54 out of 60. It's a really good looking boot. I love the chrome Puma logo down the side. The signature on the bottom is Falcao's signature. He signed every pair and it was put underneath the sole plate. So it's a really nice touch for the boots. Now there's a gold colorway of this released as well. The gold colorway you had to buy a watch which was about $45,000. So understandably, I've never seen the gold pair. So into the top 5 we go, and first up we've got the CR7 Nike Mercurial Vapor 9. This is commonly known as the white gold boot. Okay, the white upper with the gold sole plate. The sole plate's soft ground, looks really good, and that's obviously Ronaldo's preferred sole plate for when he's playing, so it was really nice on a limited edition to give us the soft ground sole plate. Now there was 100 pairs made of this boot. This is pair 98, as you can see by the heel there. So very, very rare boot, and these days very, very hard to find. The people that have got them don't want to sell them. I know, for example, I never want to sell this boot, so really, really hard boot to find. Now this is probably the first boot that I paid a lot of money to get my hands on. So in at number 4 in my collection, I've put a Mizuno football boot, and it's this special boot, which is the Mizuno Morelia 2 in the gold and black colourway. Now this boot was actually worn by Roberto Carlos in, I think it was a Legends game around 2015, and then Pro Direct Soccer released all 30 pairs that were released. That's right, only 30 pairs released just before Christmas that year, and I was lucky enough to get a pair of them. It was to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Morelia football boot, which is one of Mizuno's longest running lines, and it really is an incredible boot. The gold colourway is made in Japan, which means it's made to a sort of higher specification than some of the other boots. It was expensive at the time, but really worth every penny. Okay, so at number 3 in the collection, we're now on to the Messi 1010 boot from 2015. Now they did two 1010 boots effectively, this one and another one from New York the year after, but this is the one that makes it into my top 10. Now, people that follow me for a while will know the story about how I got these. I flew to Barcelona, I met up with Chris Kemp, the Pred Collective at Barcelona Airport. We went to the Adidas store in the city centre in Barcelona, and we queued up outside from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the Friday until the shop opened up at 10 o'clock the next morning. Had a great time there, met some really great people, other collectors, not boot collectors, more sneaker collectors who were buying them, I think, for resale. But it was great to meet up with those people. That's why these boots are in the top 10 for me, just because the story behind them is fantastic. I've been given some great offers on these boots, but as far as I'm concerned, I just can't ever sell these because it was such a great time. So that's why the Messi 1010 boot is number 3 in my all-time collection. Okay, note to all companies, this is how you present a super limited edition football boot. These are the Nike Mercurial Superfly 5 Campeos, designed for Cristiano Ronaldo, and as you can see they're pair number 51 out of the 75 that were actually made available. Now these boots were designed after the European Championship success of Portugal, and Ronaldo wanted a pair of football boots to wear for the national team that would show off that glory and success. So these were designed. Now when they were first shown to the public, we didn't think they were actually going to be made available for collectors or people to wear at any point in time. And then Nike decided to do a big trip to China with Ronaldo, and they made 75 pairs of these available, 49 being auctioned off. And I was lucky enough to get the help of a collector in the USA to bid on them for me, and I was able to get pair number 51 of the 75 that were available. Now, stunning boot, red and gold, you just can't beat the colourway. Very, very super limited, one of the most limited boots in my collection, and that is why they are number 2 in my collection. So finally we're at number 1 in my collection, and as you can see it's another boot from Nike with the 3 stars on the top to give you a little clue. This is the Superfly 4 Carli Llyod limited edition football boot. Now the Leave Your Legacy tagline is on the boots as well, I'll show you that in a second. But these boots were both signed by Carli Llyod as well, just to give that extra touch of class. Now, there are approximately 20 pairs of this football boot actually out there. Obviously Carli Llyod had a pair because she wore them in a game, and then Nike were supposed to release 20 pairs through competitions and bounce games and so on. Don't think that actually ever happened. I've looked everywhere for these boots over the last few years and never found them. And then I saw this pair which a collector owned, and there's one other pair that you saw on Instagram. Stunning looking boot. I love the Superfly 4, it's one of my favourite boots and one of the boots that changed history for me a little bit. And this is exactly why they're the number 1 boot in my collection. Hope you've enjoyed these videos.